The distress beacon pierced through the void of space like a desperate scream. Commander Jothic of the Krylonian Empire, a being who stood 12 feet tall with 4 powerful arms and exoskeleton plating that could withstand plasma fire, found himself in an impossible situation. His warship, the Eternal Dominance, lay crippled in the asteroid field, its systems failing one by one. For 3 cycles, Jothic had been the terror of this sector. His reputation preceded him, the Butcher of the Andromeda Front they called him. Lesser species fled at the mere mention of his name. Yet now, trapped in the maintenance shaft beneath his ship's reactor core, he faced an enemy he couldn't intimidate or destroy, a jammed coupling valve that refused to release. The valve, no larger than a human fist, was wedged between 2 massive conduits. Without it freed, the reactor would cascade into a meltdown within hours. His thick armored fingers couldn't reach the mechanism. His crew, equally massive beings bred for war, were useless in this confined space. Pride had kept him from calling for help earlier, but desperation was a powerful motivator. That's when the human ship arrived. The Wandering Star was a small exploration vessel, barely worthy of being called a ship by Krylonian standards. When Captain Marcus Chen's face appeared on the view screen, Jothic had to suppress his instinct to sneer. The human looked so fragile, so small with his soft skin and tiny frame. No claws, no armor plating, no enhanced musculature. Just a man in a worn jumpsuit with grease stains on his sleeves. "Commander Jothic," Marcus said calmly, "we received your beacon. What's your situation?" The admission tasted like poison. "My reactor will fail. There is a mechanical obstruction I cannot reach." Marcus studied the technical readouts Jothic transmitted. "I see the problem. That's a tough spot. Mind if I come aboard and take a look?" Every warrior instinct in Jothic's body screamed against allowing this weak creature onto his vessel. But survival overrode pride. Permission granted. 20 minutes later, Marcus Chen stood in the maintenance shaft, dwarfed by the towering Krylonian commander. He carried only a small toolkit, the kind that would fit in a child's backpack by Krylonian standards. Jothic watched with barely concealed skepticism as the human examined the problem. "Yeah, I can see why you're stuck," Marcus said, running his hand along the conduit. "This coupling needs to rotate counterclockwise about 45 degrees, then slide back before it'll release. But it's wedged pretty tight. My engineers attempted for hours," Jothic growled. "The space is too confined. Our hands cannot—" "Hold this," Marcus interrupted, handing his flashlight to the bemused commander. He reached into his toolkit and pulled out what looked like a primitive metal rod, with a handle at one end. To Jothic's trained eye, it appeared almost crude, a simple lever mechanism with interchangeable heads. "A wrench?" Jothic couldn't hide his disdain. "You bring a manual tool to solve an engineering crisis?" Marcus grinned. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. This is my dad's wrench. He gave it to me before my first deep space assignment. Said it had gotten him out of more trouble than any fancy tech ever did." The human squeezed himself into the impossibly narrow gap that had defeated 3 Krylonian engineers. His smaller frame allowed him to contort in ways no warrior species could manage. Marcus positioned the wrench on the coupling, his practiced hands working by feel in the confined space. "The thing about humans," Marcus grunted as he worked, "is that we evolved as tool users. Our whole evolutionary advantage was that we weren't the biggest, strongest, or fastest. We were the ones who figured out how to use what we had available to solve problems." Jothic heard the strain in the human's voice as Marcus applied pressure to the wrench. Metal groaned against metal. The coupling shifted, just slightly, but it moved. "We didn't have claws," Marcus continued, adjusting his grip, "so we made tools. Didn't have armor, so we made shields. Couldn't outrun predators, so we outlasted them. Every disadvantage became an opportunity to adapt." Another rotation. The coupling was loosening. "Your strength is impressive, Commander. Your armor, your weapons, all incredible, but sometimes the universe throws problems at you that can't be solved with brute force." With a final heave and a satisfying click, the coupling rotated free. Marcus carefully slid it back and the trapped valve released with a hiss of depressurized gas. The reactor's warning klaxons immediately quieted as the system stabilized. Marcus wiggled back out of the gap, his jumpsuit now covered in hydraulic fluid and coolant. He wiped his hands on a rag and offered the wrench to Jothic. "Want to hold it?" Dad always said a good tool should feel balanced in your hand. The massive Krylonian took the small wrench delicately, afraid his strength might bend it. It was absurdly tiny in his palm, barely larger than one of his claws. Yet this simple tool, guided by human ingenuity and adapted to human limitations, had accomplished what all of Krylonian engineering could not. "I have underestimated your species," Jothic admitted, the words coming with difficulty. Marcus shrugged as he packed his toolkit. "Most species do at first. We're not the strongest or the toughest. We're just stubborn problem solvers who refuse to quit. That, and we keep really good tools handy." As Marcus returned to his ship, Jothic stood in the maintenance shaft, still holding the wrench. Around him, his massive vessel hummed with restored power. The butcher of the Andromeda front had been saved not by superior firepower or advanced technology, but by a simple hand tool and the clever ape who knew how to use it. He would never again dismiss humanity as weak. Sometimes Jothic realized the smallest tools in the right hands could move worlds, and humans, with their fragile bodies and brilliant minds, had been perfecting that particular skill for millions of years. The wandering star departed with a friendly wave, leaving Jothic to contemplate a new understanding. That evolution's greatest weapon wasn't size or strength. It was adaptability, creativity, and the humble wisdom to use the right tool for the job, and humanity had been sharpening those tools for a very, very long time.